So welcome again. What a delight to see so many people. And it's a real pleasure actually to see faces and even if not faces, names behind these wonderful poems, poets and poems who I have spent a long time with, as hopefully have some of you know. I hope you have all, or at least most of you, received your print copy if you requested one. I know there's one or two people who I'm either going to be meeting in person or happy with the e-copy, Kindle copy or whatever, but I hope you've enjoyed reading through the anthology. It's been a real pleasure to put it together. I certainly don't want to spend too much time talking about me or the process of putting the work together. My plan for this hour, and it can be a flexible hour as far as I'm concerned, is to celebrate the anthology by asking people to read their poems or their poem or their poems in some cases. Happy to keep it fairly informal, happy for people to put kind comments and questions in the chat box, which I'll try to keep an eye on. Thinking I might have a little break in about half an hour where we can have a bit of general chat, and again at the end. But really, I just want us to celebrate the fact that Julian of Norwich, who I'm sure most of you do know the basic biographical details of, as far as we have them, a great, extraordinary, compassionate and poetic 14th and early 15th century mystic who lived not so far from where I am and where one or two other attendees are living in Norwich, in an extraordinary anchoress's cell, which is, although the original no longer exists, the sense of presence and the sort of connection to her really profound and beautiful spirituality is still there. There's a reconstructed cell which forms her shrine, as it were, in St. Julian's Church in Norwich today. And some of you have contributed poems that are actually about that cell, which is lovely. And others have concentrated on your relationship to Julian through her writing, either through her imagery or through some of the really powerful and resonant things she had to say in her book, which, as far as we know, was the first book written by a woman in English. So quite remarkable on many, many fronts. And in a way, there are many Julians I've found. There are Julians that people study in terms of literature and in terms of gender, the way she explores the motherhood of Jesus Christ, for example, or in terms of the way she uses other imagery, in terms of the way she emphasizes the compassionate nature of God rather than the wrathful nature of God, which was quite something in her plague-ridden times. So she studied for many, many things, literary and socio-political and religious and theological and creative generally. So all those things to celebrate about her. And how lovely to have put so many approaches to Julian in one book. Partly the inspiration for putting this anthology together was to the 650th anniversary of Julian's showings, which were in 1373. So it's been quite the honour to be involved poetically in those celebrations. So that's why I was delighted to let there be a little mark celebrating the 650th anniversary. So we're all part of that as well. We're all going down in history in our own way, as creating and contributing fresh perspectives on Julian. As many of you probably know as well, I'll just say this little thing and then I'll be quiet. You know, that Julian has inspired poetry previous to us. She was strikingly inspirational in the 20th century, including inspiring T.S. Eliot, not exclusively, but she did, in 4 quartets. And she has inspired other poets as well, women poets such as Denise Levertov, who has written beautifully about Julian, and subsequent poets with various creative approaches. Oh, sorry. Siri, be quiet. Sorry, that was Siri. She wanted to join in. I will stop. I will stop. Just wanted to say happy anniversary, 650th anniversary to Julian and all friends of Julian. And I think we should probably celebrate by reading some poems. So what I thought my hopeful way, Siri, go away. Sorry. Okay. What I thought was that someone else could take over now, and we could read through the poems that are by poets present. I have some recordings as well, which I can hopefully play as part of our launch. But maybe we should start off with someone who's here. I don't know if anyone would like to be the first poet to read a Julian poem, a poem. We're all poets who are writing in the 21st century, so this really is sort of new poems. That's the other thing I wanted to say. She has inspired 20th century poets, but she's now inspiring 21st century poets. So if anyone would like to be first, I would be delighted to hand over to you. I had a vague plan to go alphabetically. I've got my back cover to hand, but I don't really mind. So if anyone would like to read, you can put up a virtual or a real hand. Deborah, it would be lovely to have you starting off and just say whatever you like, read your lovely poem, perhaps say your name. So if people do have anthologies, they can find you. You're alphabetically presented in the anthology, and how lovely it is to be hearing everybody read. Deborah, are you able to unmute yourself and go ahead? Or did you want to say
Deborah
something?
Sage. I'm sorry. I'm Deborah Sage from Louisville, Kentucky in the United States. And I'm going to read my poem, A View from Three Windows. Rising in darkness to the ritual of matins, in prayer to the sacred certainty of the ordinary, leaf and hazelnut, bee and flower, she sits at the window of her stone universe and looks to the stars of heaven, revealing at the sun's midday arc mysteries from the threshold of death as pathways to anchor hold of the divine. She flourishes, joyful in the hum of street community and incandescent oneness. In the beauty of blue dark twilight, she writes of love and compassion, of homey friendliness, and of sin without substance. Well-loved child of the Mother Christ's birthing, unshadowed even by death, she keeps to the promise, all shall be well.
Lovely. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Wonderful. May I ask someone else to step forward? Marjorie, yes. Dear, yes, I know you wanted to read early. Thank you so much.
And I thought especially I'd go because I used to live in Louisville, Deborah. So it was kind of nice to hear that location as well. I'm Marjorie Maddox, and this is Pandemic Prayer. Fevered heat of vision singeing, Christ's forehead dripping with sacrifice. Oh, how flames of black death rise into sight, eyes fixed on his, the second of separation from the Father. O fevered heat, sweet vision singeing, O Christ, his forehead against hers, ours, sacrifice dripping. O Father, O sweet fevered heat, rising into vision, pain, plague, his passion dripping. O Father, O Mother, O Son, O lonely bleeding, we will not, flames of fevered heat, be overcome, dripping vision, sacrifice singeing all sense of self, the plague in and in between the open eye of, O lonely Christ, O self separated from self, see that I am, the body singed, God, singeing even the thin prayer of plague today and forever. Amen without end, and all shall be amen, and all fevered heat of vision, forehead dripping, the black death of soul rising, O fever, O plague, O singeing, O passion, O well of vision dripping.
That's just wonderful. Thank you so much, Marjorie. And that poem in particular connects to contemporary, we've all been through a pandemic. We've all been through enforced isolation and the sort of fever, well, sometimes literally fevered, but sort of feverish imaginings that we've been through. Yeah, really powerful poem. Thank you so much. Sylvia, I see a hand. Would you like to read, Sylvia?
I would, unless another gentleman had his hand up. Would he
Oh,
like?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. His hand is down, but I don't know who it was.
I'm sorry I didn't catch that. I apologize. We'll look for you next, if that's okay. So yeah,
Okay.
Welcome to read, Sylvia. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, thank you. So I also wrote this poem during the pandemic, and I had in mind how we were cloistered anchored, if you would, in our own homes, wherever we were throughout the whole world. Julian of Norwich leads yoga. Settling before us, skirts tucked, wool-shrouded legs, folded lotus blossoms. She knows isolation, this one, anchored within stone walls that block nothing. Source, death, even a hazelnut gets through. She brings palms to center, and we follow, moving mountain pose to warrior one. She explains, all will be well. God said that, not me. While we wait, legs trembling, until she lets us slide downward dog, arch up to cobra, straining serpents. Hope is a stone we toss into a deep question and wait for a sound. We fall to happy baby, and she says, so I stretched, held those words like breathing. We fumble into easy pose, not her, Our Lady of Supple, reminding us, now inhale, now exhale, now again for a long dream of nows until the muscles give. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's just wonderful. Thank you, Sylvia. Sylvia's poem we had published in Amethyst Review a while ago, and it was your poem was one of the things that kind of prompted me thinking, oh, there's this lovely poetry written about Julian, and it would be lovely to sort of, yeah, gather it up and gather it in. And I love the yoga analogy as well, that sort of inward stillness. Beautiful. So there was a gentleman present who had a hand raised, and I would be delighted if they would like to read. I can't see any hand raised at the moment. Scott. Oh yes, thank you. Hotel Julian, yes, please. You're welcome to go ahead.
There we go. I'm Scott Delgarno. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, good. I'm in Portland, Oregon, home of the, or capital in America of the hazelnut. So Hotel Julian, the epigraph, for our soul is so fully made one with God through God's own goodness that there is nothing between God and our soul. Hotel Julian, where they brick you in, give you a stone bowl, wood spoon, twin bed, that, like your soul, was separated at birth. You received last rites, followed by baptism, your life leapfrogging itself, a single koi and a pond, happy to be or not be, your breakfast a hazelnut, and you, a lone ladybug, content to make a world of one swaying blade of grass. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. I love the images in that one. The koi and the ladybird. Wonderful. Anybody else? Ruth. Lovely. Thank you. Do go ahead. You'll need to unmute. Hmm? Are you happy to read, Ruth, or shall I go on to someone else? I'll go on to someone else for now. So I see 3 people on my top row, and I wasn't aware who put a hand up first. So let me go to Jennifer first.
All right. Thank
Welcome,
you very
Jennifer.
much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, great. Hi, I'm Jennifer, and I am speaking to you from Sewanee, Tennessee, where it is a beautiful day. And my poem is Behovely, and it is an acrostic poem. So if you have the text with you, it's on page 83. You can read the word Behovely down the left-hand side. The epigraph is well known, but I'll read it anyway. Sin is behovable, but all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Behovely, Mother Julian's account of sin escapes the cell of human logic, hovers above the maze of morality, over the blades of judgment. Her voice whispers like the balm of eucalyptus on scarred flesh. Love says, all shall be well, including you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Jennifer, yours and also Scott's poems, there's quite short poems, were some of the poems we selected to put on little posters in Norwich a few months ago, and they were very much appreciated. So thank you. Okay, now I think Martin, would you like to read one of yours or both of yours? Martin
I was going to
Willett?
ask you if you wanted me to do both of the poems. Did you?
Why don't you read, would you like to read one to start with, and then I'll come back to you. I'm
Okay.
still sort of gauging how many. Thank you so much.
I was trying to follow the hazelnut because I have a poem about the hazelnut.
Yeah.
And it's called The Guessing Game and Julian of Norwich. It seems so little. I barely notice it in my palm. I will not look at it, guessing what it can be. A weightless object, not a feather. Told to trust, not to glance, wait to be shown the purpose of the object and the lesson. My best guess, it indeed must be precious to the Lord. It must unlock many secrets. After all, God made it. How could it be anything other than perfect? I am told. Now close your hands slowly. I close my eyes and let my fingers see what secret can be so tiny and so important. My second guess, it must be a sharing secret, one between friends or lovers or the air and sun. After all, God loves it so very much, like God loves all of creation. Why else would God create if not pleased with the results? To each their purpose under heaven, under God's many eyes. I feel the sure, odd shape, not round, almost oval, like my mouth or forming surprise. Hard, like faith and trust and love. My third guess is this must be kept by God in a special place for small, trusting lives. A voice inside me says, open your eyes. A hazelnut. They grow into trees, which shelters God's creatures. Yet, if eaten, they can reduce stress, a healing claims. The nut is good for the blood and the inflammation. A cook grinds it to use when we are short of flour. My lesson seems to be a small thing, so small, may have so many purposes. I say, please share more about the secrets of your world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love the way that poem ends, and I shall ask you how your chapbook is progressing in a little while, Master, when we get to a couple more poems, and I shall say how pleased I am to hear that you're working on more Julian pieces. Okay, I'll just see if I can get through a few more readers first. Sarah, lovely to see your name, and I would be delighted if you wanted to read your poem.
Oh, hello, Sarah. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you. Hi. Sarah Sally. I'm in London, and this is about not so much about Julian distinctly as uncriticism in general, the Oncrina Wissa. So, Oncrina Wissa, an epitome. Your rule: clear your heart, walk with God. That's all. Dance your daily prayers. Stand, stoop, kneel, kiss, call. Heal me, bloody soul. Kyrie eleison. Your heart's a wild beast, crouched, ready to bolt. Close your curtain, live in a cross of light. Wolf girls rage and vixens simper. Take flight, plunge into darkness, hunt truths on owls' wings. The devil may flatter you with visions, but God flirts. He'll hide just to see you seek. I watched them ring round the churchyard. My feet made the steps, mea culpa. Prostrated before the cross. Trash your flesh suit, trade it for heaven, live your penance every day. Jesus struts. Aren't I your sweetest boy? Be queen of my castle. Who dare reject him? Loving hearts are better than hedgehog skins. Comfort sorrows. In summer, go barefoot. Read this weekly. Pray for me. Stroke the cat.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Now, Sister Joanna, you had your hand up. It's lovely to hear you read your longer Julian poem.
I don't do Zooms very often, so I'm not sure if I've got everything set up properly. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, and it all looks perfect to me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. I'm Sister Joanna Caton, and I live at Minster Abbey in Kent, England. And my poem is called About All Manner of Things Shall Be Well, or Talking to Julian Again After a Long Silence. It wasn't until I started writing this poem that I began to talk to her again. I stopped many stubborn years ago when Julian's words were courteously given to me in ill-timed convergence with a rush of titanic trouble that hit like a comet and left nothing behind but a crater. Oh, God remained, but everything else humans value, friends, work, home, vanished in the impact. Julian's words of well-being, I thought of them as hers and not God's, lapsed into uselessness then. I hung them on the far point of my lifeline, lank, wet clothes slapping themselves in the breeze. And then, the fresh crater has a certain largesse of emptiness, I found, as well as a readiness to welcome rain, that ambassador to the living. Such realizations, so obvious perhaps, were shown to me slowly slowly over many years. But time shelters beneath God's mothering wing, and truths come out when he says they may. So only now was I shown that life had been renewing itself secretly, speck by speck, that a river flowed at the crater's bed, and Julian's green words were twining up its steep sides, wild vines in a tropical forest. And that was how I came to see that Julian's words were not hers, but God's.
Just lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Beautiful image at the end. Lovely. Thank you. Let me just have a look at the gallery to see. I've sort of lost track of who's put their hand up when, but let me ask Tony, would you like to read one of yours? It'd be lovely to hear. Yes.
Fine. Okay. You hear me all right?
Thank you. Yes, I can.
Good. This was written after a visit to the cell in Norwich some time ago, but it's called At the Cell of Mother Julian. No one can kiss the ground she knelt on, lift a flake of plaster where she might have pressed her head. It would be fine to think that it was some good providence obliges us to use our own imagination and her words instead. The place has been rebuilt from dereliction. Long centuries of neglect were ended by a blast bomb in the wall. Now an etched lamp hangs as the only decoration, making a shadow of the bare stone altar dance upon the cork-tiled floor. Here is no gilded clutter, fusty relics clouding the straight plainness of her shrine. No painting of her life in stilted tableaus. The kind of visitors who find their way seem mostly those who come to share a stillness, sense a presence, hear an echo of her prose. They leave behind a litter of torn paper, tattered scraps, fixed to a notice board, each bearing a request for prayer, pinned on her promise that all shall be well, as if this truly were an anchorage where battered hopes might look for some repair. A life dropped into silence, but to such depth of vision that the ripples never ceased to spread. And now their wash returns to this still centre, bringing seekers to a cell which has itself been resurrected from the dead.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yes, that's a lovely last line. Just out of interest, you can't really put your hands up because some of you've got your hands up already, but I wonder how many people actually have visited Julian's cell, the current cell. Yes, you have to put real-time hands up or nod. So quite a few nod. Well, maybe one day, maybe you're inspired. Maybe you're inspired to visit one day. Yeah, lovely. Because there are some poems about the cell in the anthology, as I said, and if I get time towards the end, I'll play the little recording that another poet in the anthology, Irina Kuzminski, who's a poet friend of mine as well, wrote after she visited the cell for the first time last year. She said the poem came immediately. But yes, Tony's right. It's the cell itself has been resurrected. It's a really lovely way of putting it. And other people have said to me that it's extraordinary how there is such a strong sense of presence and continuity there, as well as reconnection and renewal as things have been rebuilt. You may know, most of you may know already, but the church, St. Julian's Church, very old church, 11th century, I think, that was very badly damaged during the Second World War. and was rebuilt after that with much love. And the current side chapel or cell representing Julian's life, Mother Julian's, was built then. Okay, I'm happy to continue, or I'm happy to say let you say anything you want to say. It's just beautiful to hear the poems read. Actually, I feel I know them all in that way that editors perhaps do when you've been going through books again and again and again, your poems or works again and again and again, and you can sort of hear them in your head, and it's almost as if you wrote them yourself, but of course you didn't. Because they're so various and so beautiful and different in approach, but really lovely to hear. Actually, my head is slightly bubbling with things I want to say about each one, but of course I don't want to take up too much time, so perhaps I'll have to write a report or something like that. I can see people have been putting really lovely comments in the chat box if people want to have a look at that. There's a lot of appreciation there, so it's lovely to have brought people together who are so particularly attuned to Mother Julian. Okay, I shall continue inviting you to read. Ruth, I appreciate your mic wasn't working. If that's still the case, that's okay. It's just lovely to have you here. I see there are some hands up, so perhaps I can ask Rosie. Rosie Jackson, would you like to read your lovely poem, the long text?
Thank you, Sarah. Hello, everybody. I'm in Devon, England. I used to live in Norwich, actually. And this is a very lovely experience. Thank you, Sarah. It's a beautiful anthology. And it's interesting because I do a lot of poetry readings and Zooms. And normally I feel my mystic poems are something out of kilter with other people. But tonight I feel like I'm at home. So it's really nice. Yes. So I've done a whole sequence of poems about mystics and anchorites and medieval women and Uncreen Wissa, and I'm just going to be unashamedly mention that this poem actually comes from my collection called Love Leans Over the Table, which has a sequence of poems about anchorites in it. So this is my Julian of Norwich poem. The long text. They say she kept bees, that men bartered meat for prayers and honey. They say she had a cat. They say Christ came to her bed once, as intimate and certain as death. And if she chose a cell, it was to anchor his tenderness. If she took up knitting, it was to go time after time into the same stitch, to revisit that night, like a widow reliving her wedding, memory augmenting what could not bear to be lost. They say she revered the sky because at his end it splintered and grew dark. The first time she put her showings into words, it was a few sheets of vellum. 20 years on, she needed sacks of oak apples for ink. They say she made wanting into a verb, that hers was the first book by a woman in English, though she is known by the name of a man. Many things get lost in churches. What is the word God, after all, but an alias for the love that drew crowds to the space in her cell we'd call a window? Those sailors trudging from docks to beg protection from waves and pestilence. Then she'd tell them, falling and rising are the same when seen from the seeing of love. That if there is on this earth a lover of God who is always kept safe, she knew nothing of it. But yes, she would entreat blessings on their sweethearts and babies. Her own child, they say, was taken by the plague, possibly her husband too. We all have our ways of coping with grief. They say her cell was pungent with mugwort, sage, lavender.
That's such a lovely poem, Rosie. Thank you so much. And I'm glad you feel at home reading more poems, the poetics of the sacred, for want of a better word. I too feel that we need to have a space for that. Perhaps especially in the UK. I don't know. That's an arguable point, but yeah, very pleased that you could read that out. And of course, yes, we don't know Julian's past, her personal biographical past, because she doesn't tell us. We can pick up clues, and some people do think that she was married and had children and lost them during a wave of plague, or you know, otherwise. But we don't know. Some people think she was a nun in Carrow Abbey nearby, Benedictine convent, so that could have been the case as well. Anyway, lovely poem, thank you. And Shannon, would you like to read your poem? That would be lovely, Shannon.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm calling in from New York in the United States. It's so lovely to be here with so many wonderful poets from all over. It's been really lovely. My poem is What Was Sought Was Found. My world became smaller, yes, but inside me, I was a vast and unknowable universe. It is a strange power to touch the unseen, to hear the unreachable, to court the mysteries of the eternal. Is that what I was?
I think you've stuck.
I'm stretching to. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you not able to hear?
I got up to eternal.
Oh dear.
The eternal. That's all right. Maybe it was my end.
Is that what I was doing in there? Did my stone walls blur, become all that I knew? Erase what was past and stretch into infinity? I could have been telling stories to myself. In those difficult moments, in those shallow places, where I found growing remorse, misery, pain, anger, such plants that thrive on nothing, I became my own comforter. Or perhaps I did not look back, did not look beyond the place, the peace that I had chosen for myself, that longed for solitude to attune my ear to the voice. Could that be what I found? There is a chance that what I found was mortal, yet still divine, in the way that all creatures are. On my own, it might be that I discovered some sacred part of myself, a private joy that could only be mine. Like a shadow, connected to me heart and soul, did I find an elusive kind of love? And when I wrote, was I describing my own perfect spirit, a companion which comes in a shape not unlike yours?
Oh, thank you so much. This is
Thank you.
beautiful, and that's one of the really powerful things that I love about Julian is her that the sort of the dimensions seem to be reversed. So the enclosure becomes this vast horizon, and the small, it becomes infinite. It's small and fragile, but infinite and full of meaning, as what people have been saying. So beautiful. Thank you. Yes, talking about other journals that have a space for the sacred. Yes, absolutely. Some really good suggestions in the chat. Presence magazine, definitely, and the Windhover, absolutely as well. Yes. I still think there's a sort of dearth in the UK, but I'm doing my best to to sort that out. So thank you so much. Now let me go to Patrick. Would you like to read your poem?
Sure, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have to admit I feel like an imposter here because I'm not a Julian expert. It was the phrase of all will be well that just resonated with me, and my poem, like I suspect basically most of the poems here were written in the pandemic. And that was a time where wanting to be told all will be well was a good thing to hear. With my poem, I'm basically telling a story of a figure moving through Chicago. I'm in Chicago, and with trouble, there's a lot of trouble going on, but there's a refrain of farewell and all will be well. So this is called Farewell. At Ainsley and Clark, he sees the clouds open to the dark and sparkling space, back to the mass of energy in the beginning. Hear the call of thunder, cross to green forest, hear the horn blow. Awake, you careless people. He says, when my body lays down, bury me in the soil, in the ocean, in the mountain snow. Dust and ashes under the chariot wheel, funeral feast at Denny's. Farewell, farewell. He hears the crows of suffering. He keeps priest-like appointments. In the loop, he preaches the gospel of thalamic matter, brain matter. Matter of fact, nothing is the matter. He kneels for the Pledge of Allegiance. He kneels for the holy Egg McMuffin. Breath, mere breath. He sees hawk flight, the footprint of his mother in cement in front of Leamington, a spasmodic gesture out of character, as if possessed a moment, a shout to the cosmos from safe, silent corner. In the afternoon church cool, the monstrance exposition, bread and gold, incensed. He hears the temple veil torn. All will be well, and all will be well, and every manner of thing will be well. In new-turned soil, in the median on Ashland, he plants blank paper. In her doorway, the sacristan is dead, dining room table mounded with laundry, the song's translation. Spark. Backup singers. Let the frogs rejoice, the dawn birds, the insect swarms, pattered noise, horde hum, swamped. Let the heel be lifted, the awed one pilgrims her road. Let the eyes be salved, the awed one pilgrims her road. Let hints of salvation snick at the edges. A closed heart is a lost refrain. Fire, fire, dry, cold grit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really powerful poem. Thank you. And I think it fits in very well with the anthology. So great. I thought interesting contrast with she's not here, but Nessa Mahoney's poem, which is not necessarily centered on Julian, but Julian is there, and Julian is there through all should be well, and the way that phrase just seems to touch everybody and everything. So great, thank you. Bye bye, Marjorie. I saw your note saying you were off. Yeah. Thank you. And had I been in Chicago, I would have come to your book launch. I got the emails about it, Patrick. Your book readings, anyway. Now, Susan, welcome, Susan. Would you like to read your? I've got a recording of yours as well. I've got it queued up, but we've got so many lovely readers here. It's a good job you've come along. Lovely. Would you like to read it? Your poem, first one in the anthology.
I'm just trying to unmute. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Just wanted to say a couple of things before I read my poem. And one is how much I love the cover, Sarah. What a super cover. And it brings home not just the sort of the powerful mystical nature of Julian, but also that lovely homeliness of her, that she was, I love it. So fabulous with the cat as well. Isn't that brilliant? Yeah. And my poem is based on what Julian said about, he did not say, you will not be tempest tossed, you will not be burdened, you will not be afflicted. He said, you will not be overcome. And I think that's such a powerful thing, especially when you're in the middle of a tempest. Pause. Tempest rages. A voice says, pause. Stillness. Light. A voice says, sit. She sees him there, hands resting on the arms of a winged armchair. A voice says, now. Tempest rages on. She is not overcome. Julian's promise is hers. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Beautifully read too. Thank you. Okay, more people. Jonathan Cooper, would you like to read yours?
How's that, Sarah? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. All well.
Great. And thank you so much, Sarah, for, I guess, providing this platform, both this platform today and the anthology itself, for us to meet each other and to share our poetry. We really appreciate it.
Oh, my privilege.
The need for a journal like this, I can assure you, I'm based in Vancouver, Canada, goes well beyond the UK. So apropos of the global audience we have, or attendees we have today. So anyway. Okay. So I'll read just one of the poems, one of the two. This is Sunset on a Stone Wall. On ragged feet they trudged along St. Julian's Church, spade and scythe heavy on their shoulders. Sunset nudged the trees across their path. Not for me that life, one said, with a nod to the little cell, and a shudder inwards at the final thud of the heavy door, echoing down through the decades. Her window was open, but she took no notice of his talk. In the patch of sun on the bare wall, a branch like the outstretched arm against the cross. And a bird landed, for a moment to bless, shivered a wing, and flitted away. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great poem. Thank you. Now, Maura. It'd be lovely to hear your poem.
Hello, thank you for hosting the event. This is so wonderful. I am in Fredericksburg, Virginia, in the United States. She's at her window. Sickness and sighs and sorrows fill the sky with wings of death, unwell, not well with want. We, in the knitting and the winning, fly from carrowing flocks of plague, in vain, and haunt with wings of death, unwell, not well with want. The lady prays to know the cost of cross, from carrowing flocks of plague. In vain and haunt, she meditates and contemplates blood's loss. The lady prays to know the cost of cross with showings from our Lord that languored long. She meditates and contemplates blood's loss and writes the short, at length the long, a song with showings from our Lord that languored long. She ponders revelations, love divine, and writes the short, at length the long, a song of maker, lover, keeper by design. She ponders revelations, love divine. She writes of bliss, of hazelnut, the all of maker, lover, keeper. By design, it lasts forever, loved, enclosed so small. She writes of bliss, of hazelnut, the all, and takes herself to sell a manger inn. Oh, it lasts forever, loved and closed so small, shall not be overcome. She's at her window and takes herself to sell a manger inn. Oh, sickness and sighs and sorrows fill the sky, shall not be overcome. She's at her window. We, in the knitting and the wonning, fly.
Thank you so much. It's beautiful and so musical as well. I know your poem because I've read it many times, but that just yeah, perhaps it should be set to music. But yeah, lovely. Hey, Carol, it'd be lovely to hear your poem. Carol Casey.
Hi. Well, mine is kind of a visual poem. But for those of you who, my name is Carol Casey, so it's just a bit before the poem in. It's like some of the other ones, a meditation. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
A meditation on all shall be well, because that just went through me through the pandemic. It just, seemed to be right there with me. Julian, cats, sparrows, rhinos, hazelnuts, hurricanes, mycelium, all. I stand in the center of a swirling universe, expanding, contracting, rife with revelations. Allowance, providence bestowed, generous givings. I shall walk toward this moment's feast in my best finery, with a steaming casserole of exist, sense, contemplate patterns that live on, let be. My elements grow a forest. I am alive, humming, buzzing, crawling, yearning, divine. Stillness, balance, harmony, radiance, resolution, well, water for parched depths. Shattered hopes reveal deeper meaning. I fall into love. No matter what matters most is not the matter, but the more than.
Such a great ending. Thank you so much. Lovely. Jennifer, would you like to read your poem? Sorry, you've had your hand up a while. It'd be lovely to hear it.
Hi, thanks, Sarah. I'm coming to you from Kalamazoo, Michigan, and that's in the United States. And in Michigan, we hold up our hand and to show people because it looks like a mitten, and so I'm right here. Okay, unpacking the hazelnut. Oh, holy hermit, by anchoring yourself to the Church of St. Julian in Norwich and allowing yourself to be sealed up in that small cell, you remind us that we too are walled up in bodies that eventually fail us. Some of us have already succumbed. Even as waves of Black Plague swept thousands of your townspeople away, you held on. Despite our fears, keep open at least one small window to this world so that, like you, we can greet the street pilgrims passing by. God once showed you a little thing, slipping a hazelnut into the palm of your hand. In darkness and blazing with fever, you glimpsed God in this small brown globe, saw the sum of the entire world. Like hazelnuts, we abide in skins of hard helmets, holding the sweet inside. Everything to know of God is here. With so much in this life waiting to be seen, may we be brave enough to drop from branches we cling to and crack wide open. In casting off the hard husks keeping us from each other, let us join with deer, ruffed grouse, and quail, and feast on the sweet all around us. Thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. It's like a prayer. the way you read it. Yeah, loved it. Thank you. Oh, Mervyn, I do apologise. I'm running over. I didn't realise there would be so many wonderful people here. So I shan't be too offended if people have to go, but I'm more than happy to continue. We'll certainly hear from Mike. You've got your hand up. And then anyone else who wants to say anything. And then I have a few recorded poets as well. So we'll see how we go. But Mike, it'd be lovely to hear your poem, because your poem concludes the volume. So
thank you. I'm in Kentucky, which is not far from Louisville, Kentucky, where Deborah's from. Thank you, Sarah, for putting this anthology together, and thank everyone for contributing to it. Yeah. This is called "Wanna Let Go and I Can't Let Go," on it in one breath. Julian says Jesus is incomplete without me, that time's a veil through which I see him, and even more, he's seeing me, pulling me through to a rendezvous, that everything created is created by God, be they saints, snails, or serial killers, loved and cared for by deity, that nothing's wasted, there are no mistakes, no break in divine love, not even a millisecond missed, that he suffers and exults continuously in me with passion surpassing what seems to be, that he is existence, no place without him, the rest of it imagined and empty.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and it's so great that that ends the anthology as well. It just, yeah, just wraps everything up. Wonderful. Thank you. Just wonderful. Is there anyone else who would like to read? I can see a few faces concertedly looking away from the camera. I feel like I'm teaching class. That's okay. It's fine. It's actually pretty much to time, isn't it? So those who do have to go, I just wanted to say thank you so much. Really special evening, just extraordinary. Times like these, I sort of have a vision of not in a Julian way, but I don't know, sort of strange internety way of little sparks lighting up across the continent, and that's people connecting and engaging with this sort of work, and engaging with Mother Julian. Yes, Jennifer and everyone else who has to go, that's absolutely fine. I will say now, thank you so much, everyone. And I hope it's not goodbye. I hope we all get together for another, perhaps another anthology or another event or another Amethyst Review occurrence. That would be great, and it keeps me going as well. So I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. It's just it's been an absolute gift to work on. So wonderful. For those of you who want to stay a bit, I'm more than happy to chat. And I'm also more than happy to play, as long as my equipment holds up, a few recorded poets, but you won't miss out if you have to go, because when I put this together and put it up on YouTube, I will put those recorded pieces in as well. So we'll have some extra voices. And I think a few poets will be sending work subsequently. I know I had one or two people contact me saying they were unwell or something had cropped up, so they couldn't come tonight, this afternoon, but they would send a poem. So our work continues and our reading continues. And just, yeah, wonderful stuff. Martin, I was going to say, I know you've got another poem in the anthology. You'd be welcome to read it now if you would like. And I'd also be delighted to hear about because you're working on a whole Julian chapbook now, aren't you?
Yes, 35, 36 pages.
Wow.
So I'm located in Syracuse, New York. I neglected to mention that at the beginning.
Right.
And the poem is called "The Maestro Knows the Symphony of My Prayers." And unlike the other one, I will read the epigraph. It's "Pray inwardly, though thee thinkest in Savior, thee not, for it is profitable, though thou feel not, though thou see not. Yes, though thou think thou cannot not. I meditate in prayer, sometimes focusing on the silence, waiting to hear God whisper in my blood, my heart, moving inside me so calmly. I swear I never notice God's presence, but I feel God anyway, moving as if wearing slippers, as if tiptoeing, hardly moving, more like a deer before it becomes startled. I feel the void inside me filling with love, even when I'm doing nothing at all. Perhaps mindlessly humming a tune God plants inside me, inside the pump organ of my heart. I play this sacred music. I find the hidden chords. I conduct my days from the sheet music of life. I pray eagerly, enjoying it, even if I feel not one leaf fall of God's words, even if I think I'm not working, minding my own business, my own quietness. My body strings tune because God tunes them. Even when my silence weaves a cocoon, God knows my heart, my prayers, strumming my notes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, beautifully embodied imagery that I think connects with Julian, and I love that cocoon image as well. Thank you. Now, catching up. Oh, thank you, Shirley, for answering questions. Yeah. Great. Okay. Okay. Any comments from the remaining cells?
Will you have a recording that we can have later?
Yeah, so the idea is I'm still recording. And when I stop recording, I will upload onto YouTube. So Amethyst Review, my little online journal, has a YouTube channel where I think there's only one thing at the moment, which is a book launch of poetry by poet Diana Durham. So I will be posting this up there. And as I said, I do have some recorded poems as well, which I'm happy to play for you. I can do that now, or I can just add them on after people have gone. Also happy to chat. Susan.
Just to share with you, I've had a message from Jane Keenan. I believe
oh, yes.
You're recording. She's had a power cut and she daren't join in because of conserving her battery on her phone. So it'd be lovely if you were able to play the recording. I think you have one of hers.
Oh, do you know, I think that's something I haven't found.
That's a shame. It's just a shame she couldn't join us this evening because I know she'd been looking forward to it.
I did download it. I did. Hang on. Let me have a little fiddle. Just a moment. Sorry, this is very unprofessional. Here it is. Ah, there it is. Okay. Let me attempt something. Oh no, this is a that's not it. Sorry, let me try again. I did have it, and I replied. I sent her a little message as well just today. So let me see. Okay, let me have a little further exploration of my inbox. Here we are, video for the Julian launch. Right. Thank you, Susan, for your encouragement. Let me see if this works. No, it doesn't. All right. Oh. Brilliant. Yes, Jennifer's going. Yes, that's fine. That's fine. Everyone's going. Yeah, that's. Thank you for reminding me about that, Susan. Yeah, lovely. And the cats as well. Yeah. Shall I try a video? Another videoed reading?
There was no sound for the last program.
Oh, oh no. Oh, did no one hear it? Oh, what a shame. I was enjoying it thoroughly. Oh no. Did you hear it, Susan? No. Oh, oh, what a shame.
Can you read it for us, Sarah? Can you read it for us?
Yeah, of course I will. It would be a pleasure. How strange. Well, as I've just heard Jane read it, I can give it my best shot. It's called Knitting, Jane Keenan. Wool was big business in England when Julian was alive, weaving rather than knitting then. My ball of wool is variegated blue. It rolls across the floor, a tiny planet, its end deeply hidden, cat alert. The knitter takes the wool. knows every detail of each stitch to make the garment well. Time connects us at the cuff, her almost death, bubonic plague, our days of COVID, climate change, their peasants' revolt, our winter strikes, gender preoccupations calmed. She speaks of God as mother. 16 showings, harrowing detail, pondered 20 years inside her cell, cat curled on her windowsill. She writes about a servant, no fault of his, he fell and could not turn his head. He could not see his master's gaze, compassionate and kind, how he was watched and washed with love. The servant was humanity, was Adam, he was Christ. The cat is awed. The threads of time hold us apart, growing and evolving still, sufferings like stitches split, Julian contemplating hell. How can all be well? Cat leaps after ball. Master, courteous and kind, turns her face to heaven. You shall see for yourself that all shall be well. The gifts already given. There you go. I hope you heard that. What a lovely poem. Yeah, I shall clap Jane as well. And what I'll do is, as we really have gone over time, so I won't play the recorded ones now, just in case the same problem occurs and we're having an enforced contemplative silence, which might be okay. But I'll put them on. I'll tether them onto the end and make sure that they're audible, and then I'll put the whole thing onto YouTube and send people a little notice about it. Shall I do that? Deborah, it's been my absolute pleasure. It's been a real high point of the, well, not just of the year putting the anthology together, but it's just been really nice to have this evening as well. I deliberately, silly thing to admit, but I deliberately scheduled this a week before my birthday, which is next week, which is not a, it's not a significant, I'm getting older, but it's not a significant birthday, but I just wanted to have something that I'd done this year and that I could celebrate. So I left this right till the end, but not over to the next year. So I'm so pleased that you've been able to help me achieve that. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you. Okay, what I'll do is I will now stop the recording. So thank you everyone who's listening to